Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. It has been a long time since I've reviewed the Chronomètre Bleu, and while the watch has not changed, I think it's important to offer the best perspective that I can at a given point in my journey as a watch reviewer. So there are some finer points of this watch that have come to my attention since the good old days, and I'm going to unpack that today. Of course, the watch itself is a standard, first launched in 2009 as a more accessible point of entry to the FP Journe brand. It became the single most recognized and in-demand model, which is a fascinating case of the brand ultimately being overtaken by its most elementary offering. It is a beautiful and unusual and hauntingly detailed watch, so it's not hard to understand why. At 39 millimeters in diameter in blue-gray tantalum metal, it is 8.7 millimeters thick and from lug tip to lug tip, 45.9 millimeters with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. You can see on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters circumference. It wears beautifully, and I'm pulling the strap tight, and the strap is stiff because it's not broken in. This watch will fit on a wrist of 13.5 centimeters circumference, and many men and ladies have worn it to great success and effect. You can see the lugs are well inboard of the edge of my wrist on both sides. Down the barrel is always the decisive angle if you don't have a mirror. Over the top exaggerates the lug span, makes it look wider than it is, and then the cuff shot reveals that the domed bezel and the thin profile make it the consummate dress watch. Though it can be worn casually, it'll easily fit underneath a tight dress sleeve. Journe straps, as you can see, factory strap. Small round scale gator on the bottom, large rectangular scales on the top. Why? Gator on both sides, lasts longer. It is more expensive, usually by a few $100s, but a watch like this deserves the longest wearing, most durable, and most premium strap. You can see, no crimping, no gouging, brand new factory strap. It includes a semi-gloss finish in dark blue, and then if you look at the edge, you can see that it's a folded edge. There's a monotone stitch, pull-tab spring bars to quickly pop the strap off without a tool, and then the lugs are drilled close to the case for better small wrist fit. And then a curved spring bar is used, so there's no impediment to the motion of the strap. If you want, you can pull it straight down out of the lugs. Attention to detail, both pin and buckle in tantalum. And note how the recesses of the characters on the buckle have been media blasted. The case, however, is entirely polished. And when I went to visit Journe's case factory, Boîtier de Genève, in 2017, I was even allowed to see how this dial is made. They were just beginning to experiment with in-house dial construction, which is something previously outsourced. Right around the end of 2017, they were trying to insource and in-house this, and it was taking some time, but they let me see and photograph the process. Polishing the tantalum was absolutely off limits. However they do it, Journe wanted to keep it proprietary. It is not an easy thing to do. I've been told by people who finish cases that tantalum is most similar to platinum, only more so. It will overheat and smear. It will flow. It will bubble and become porous. It will deform. It will do just about everything you don't want it to do when you are attempting to polish it. And that is exactly how this has been executed, full polish. You could see that there are some marks on this case on both bezel and on the case flank and the lugs. So this is one that has been worn and enjoyed, and it can be refinished to perfection at the factory. We just prefer to offer watches like this with all of the original metal intact. You can make that subsequent decision, but it is up to you. Of course, tantalum will wear out tools, and that is another part of the reason watchmakers, and by that I mean the extended watchmaking trade, they don't really like working with tantalum. It's not quite as impossible as it used to be, but it's still something that is generally not enjoyable to work. Also important to note, people ask, is it heavier than gold? Yes and no. Watchmaking tantalum, as seen here, is more massive per unit and per volume than 18 karat gold. 24 karat gold would be more massive than an equivalent volume of tantalum. But 18 karat gold is not heavier than watchmaking tantalum. If you were to check like to like 18 karat versus this this would be slightly heavier on a scale. So yes, it is as massive as precious metal. We have Journe's distinctive double dimple knurled crown, no branding, but you know who made it. Perhaps the most interesting nuance of this dial is not the fact that it is blue, bright, and reflective, but that it is actually printed with an off-white eggshell cream. Taking a look at all of the characters, the printings, and the hands on this dial, you notice that they do have a distinct yellowish tinge that's not evident on first glance. Now, in terms of what this dial actually is, well, it's two different things. It's a piece of German silver underneath that's been mirror finished, and then on top of that, multiple layers of a translucent blue lacquer are applied, and then finally it's printed. So that's how you get this effect where you have both the metallic shine of mirror polished metal, but you also have the gloss glow of a lacquer. There's an azurage or concentric pattern inside the small seconds, and mechanically it's identical to a CS or a chronomètre souverain with the exception of not bearing a power reserve indicator, but it's still the caliber 1304, and you can see it still says chronomètre souverain on the base plate. So two barrels in parallel for maximum flat torque peak. The idea here is not to have a super long power reserve with two barrels, but to have the fattest, flattest torque curve from start to finish. And so it is called the Chronomètre Bleu because Journe insists that via the free-sprung high mass balance, the 6-position adjustment, and the twin barrels in parallel with properly mapped torque curves, that this will outperform a COSC chronometer. In my very earliest days in the watch industry, and I mean the summer of 2014, I used to think this was a COSC certified watch because it said chronomètre on the back. Well, Journe replied at the time that the standard in-house is higher than the COSC, that it's tested as a fully assembled watch, and that it exceeds the ISO 3159 that governs the COSC. Well, lo and behold, I tested it, and I did a review comparing this to a Laurent Ferrier Gallet micro rotor, and my heart was with the Ferrier, but when I put them both on the chronoscope, this thing was running in 6 positions with an average deviation of about 2.7 seconds gained per day. It was far better than the COSC standard, and I'm sorry to say it was also more accurate, or at least more precise, than the Laurent Ferrier. So I give credit where credit is due. This watch does live up to the appellation chronomètre. Now the movement's made of solid gold, so no coincidence. A tantalum case with gold movement is very heavy, and it shares another feature with the standard chronomètre souverain, which is that there's no obvious means of transmission from the power source to the escapement. See how there's this big open gulf between the two sides? Journe is a master of movement architecture, not necessarily a master of movement finish. There are those who do better, but in terms of the shape, the size, the proportioning, and the location of the parts, beautiful. You could see this bridge for the winding train as well as the two barrels. Nothing visible between escapement and barrels. The drivetrain runs under the dial, so you don't see it. Then we have a 3 Hertz high mass balance that makes up in mass and inertia what it lacks in absolute beat rate, so it's 6 beats per second. It's free sprung. You can see adjusted in 6 positions. This is a 22 joule movement, solid 18-karat gold bridges and plates. Finishing highlights include polished screws, bevels within the screw, locating pegs, and jewel sinks. We do have beveling on the edge of the bridge, and you can see it is suitably mirrored, even if it is primarily mechanical in execution. We have a grand dorche, or barleycorn pattern, on the base plate between the barrels and the balance. Then you can see underneath that we have a perlage, or a very tight concentric engine turning. We also have satination on the barrels. The watch does feature locating pegs right here and here, or here and here, that are used to locate bridges on the underlying base plate. And you can see those locating pegs have been polished on their top, which is excellent. It doesn't feature hacking seconds, but that's probably the only feature it does not include. It's water resistant to 30 meters, so dress watch. That doesn't mean take it down 30 meters. That means splash. That means inadvertent rain exposure. It's not something to submerge. Really, my understanding is the only Journe watch you can safely submerge is an Elegant with the screw-down crown. Then again, you'll be having fun high and dry with the most recognizable, and some might even say most beautiful, FP Journe timepiece. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.